Okay, so here's my belief structure. It's way outside of the ordinary, but I'm okay with that. I'm not saying anybody has to take this as theirs. I'm just simply sharing it because it's a belief structure that supports my existence in this reality. I feel like I'm living in a whole nother world watching everybody else, in this other world. And it's just like, oh no, you guys can come over to this side if you want, But a lot of people lack the awareness of science and spirituality and how to bridge the gap between the two in order to create the lifestyle that you want. So I've undergone a thorough deprogramming and reprogramming process. It's taken about, 5 years, probably roughly, to take out an old belief structure and implement a new belief structure. And in order to do so, you have to understand the mind and how it works, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind. And then you also have to kind of bridge that gap with spirituality as well, developing a relationship with that inner intuition, that inner instinct, and using the universal language to co-create your reality. So I didn't think this way 5 years ago until I hit that chapter that was really dark and I hit that rock bottom and I was at a crossroads. And for me, just staying there or going any further down was not an option. So I had to step out of the ways of thinking that we had been taught and begin putting everything through a sifter. Was what I was taught beneficial for me or not? And if it wasn't, then I had to kind of give it the hee-ho and implement something that felt better, felt right. So this is what I've spent my time doing. Throughout this process, I began building a new relationship between myself and the universe, a new relationship between me and myself. Just kind of 2-in-1 is what you figure out. When you're disconnected from that inner voice, life is very chaotic. You're chasing after the wrong things. When you go through that process and you reconnect with that inner voice, things just move easy. They flow. And you realize that you're working with something that's bigger than who you are right here, right now. And when you get in that flow of beautiful, bright, light energy, and you're using that to help create and establish a life for yourself down here, it's literally unstoppable. Now, this does work both ways. You can work with light energy, you can work with dark energy. And I think there's been a lot of dark energy on the planet up until this point. And there's a lot of us that are going through the same process that I went through, because we're shedding the dark. We're shedding all the shadow sides that we used to have, all the negative, derogatory ways of thinking. And we're starting to ease up on ourselves a little bit and realize, hold on a minute. When you really understand the science behind this, you understand that the mind's programmable. And a lot of the structures that we have actually are not healthy for a programmable mindset. So starts making you just kind of evaluate what's actually happening and take responsibility for your life on an individual level. When you start doing that, you gain this relationship with the universe and your belief structure as a whole changes. When COVID came around, I had already went through a grieving process between myself and the government, and a grieving process with all the structures that had been put in place, because I realized at that point that they weren't totally trustworthy. I couldn't trust them anyway. For example, insurance is great when it comes to a mental standpoint. I'll pay into this, and if I ever need it, then I'll be taken care of. So mentally you feel good about this. But then you end up having a traumatic event where you need help from the insurance company, and it's like pulling teeth, right? In order to just get a little bit of help, it becomes more of a stress than it does a help. And in those moments, you really start evaluating, where is my trust and where is my faith? And this whole time I've been taught that it needs to be in something outside of myself. But that's inaccurate, right? That trust and that faith has to come from you. That belief that whatever you come up against, you're going to be able to create another opportunity for yourself to get you to the next step. When you start having faith like that, you're working with universal energies. And when you're in alignment with fun, beautiful, loving universal energies, then you can literally create heaven on earth. I mean, it's literally heaven on earth. I wake up every day and I'm happy to be here. I know that this is a temporary experience. I can feel and connect with my loved ones that have crossed over. I have a thorough relationship with my higher self, with my guidance system. Even though they are unseen, I know that they're there because I've built a relationship with my emotions. When this whole COVID thing came around, it was interesting because I had gone through a process prior, right before it hit, of this ascension, of this evaluation of everything. And I was kind of coming toward the end of understanding what was going on and understanding what was happening, implementing a new way of thinking for myself, taking out this old belief structure. I was now at the end of bringing in a new one. So at this point, I was already developed. I was already co-creating. I was channeling. I was communicating with myself on levels I didn't even know was possible a few years back. Through that process, I also had to build a new relationship with my body. And this is where I'm going to kind of go into what's going on with COVID. Again, this is just my belief structure. You have to take it if it doesn't feel good. I do think it's smart from a business standpoint, from a logistical standpoint, to evaluate everybody's information, put it through the sifter, and then you take what feels right for you. Part of the process was now bringing everything in that I had done on a spiritual level and now kind of bridging that gap and bringing it into my physical reality. And it started with building a new relationship with my body. What did I think about my body? What do my organs really mean? What are the best foods for them? And how is the body being affected through the process that I was going through? To me, it would make sense if you're going through a complete uprooting of your belief structure that, of course, your physical body is going to be affected. So I started realizing when I was in a lower vibrational atmosphere, when I had a lower vibrational belief structure, I don't want to say lower vibrational, but now that's the way that I perceived it. I mean, at the time I had lost my father and my belief structure was, well, you better keep your fingers crossed that, he did no harm and he's going to heaven. Otherwise he's, headed down south. And it's just kind of like, what kind of belief structure is that? That's not supportive. That's not encouraging or uplifting. That left me with no answers at all. And so I kind of had to step out of that and dive into, okay, well, we are on a ball floating in space. Check in with myself about that. How do I feel? And now my belief structure is that we're multidimensional, and that my father's in a different realm, in a different form. If I'm subtle enough, then I can feel him and I know when he's around and I see the messages, I see the synchronicities. And we are still very much in communication. It's just a different form of communicating. But I wasn't able to communicate with my old belief structure. So that's kind of an example of how a different belief structure could change your whole life, your whole reality. And I've lost a few people since my father, and they've all been able to help me on the other side to adjust what our relationship is now. Like, okay, is this what it's like? Were we ever supposed to fully be disconnected, or was it the belief structure that was keeping us disconnected? So my body was going through a lot as I was altering my belief structure. I was changing all this stuff, and therefore my energy field, the auric body that surrounds your body, the energy field around your body, was changing and moving, and it was affecting my physical body. So I went through these series of almost like little stress attacks. I went through nausea a lot, digestional issues, headaches, all these types of things. I knew that this was probably a part of the process. I never really allowed myself to go into fear. There was a few times where it was like, oh my gosh, am I going to have to call the doctor? Are we going to have to do this or that? But I was really, when I was subtle and relaxed, I was able to hear the answer like, okay, you know what? Fast for the day today, or only eat oranges today. Make sure I'm drinking a gallon of water. And within a day or two, boom, whatever I was having an issue with would heal itself. And it was like, wow, okay, I think I was just pushing out some negative energy that needed to leave the body. And sometimes if you don't know where that energy is exactly, the body will purge it for you through some type of physical manifestation. You hurt your leg or you break a bone or something like that. Sometimes these are actually purgings that the body is doing to try to eliminate old energy. So if we have a traumatic event, we tend to take that energy and hold it in certain areas. So some people have neck pain or shoulder pain. A lot of times this is just because you have stuck stale energy from a trauma. So during this process, my body began shifting, and any energy that was stuck within the system came up and out. And sometimes that was through a physical manifestation. At the end of the process, one of the biggest evaluations that occurred was evaluating my crown chakra, which was above my head, which is your connection to source. It's your connection to you, essentially, the deepest parts of yourself. And I went through some serious, severe sicknesses. It was very flu-like, very COVID-like. And I came out of it and I was fine. And at the end of the process, I was told through my intuition, through my higher self and that connection, that was the body re-establishing itself in a higher vibration, right? Crown chakra. So having already gone through this whole process, having just come out of that and understanding like, oh, wow, I was nervous for a second there. I didn't know if I was sick. I didn't know what was going on. And what was actually happening was my body was adjusting to a higher vibration. So when this whole thing came on with this virus, and I started seeing all the symptoms and everything, I thought that was kind of weird, because this is very similar to the process I just went through, which is actually about the crown chakra. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting that they've labeled it COVID? And I just happened to go through something that was a crown chakra upgrade. So as I started evaluating this, I started realizing the whole planet is in a state of evolution. And what's happening is she is shifting her location in the atmosphere. So if you look at where the planet is located, we're moving. And so is every other planet in the star system. So as we change in location, we actually change in vibration. I want you to think about water. Let's put it at a lower vibration. It becomes ice. It's dense, cold, constricted. Now you take the same element and you put it in a higher vibration. It becomes steam. There's much more movement, and you can't quite see it as much. It's more expansive. Same element, two different vibrations. That's exactly what's happening on the planet today. She is shifting in vibration as she changes her location. So we are going from an ice cube type of reality where it's thick and condensed and solid, not much movement. And we're moving into a lighter vibration where it's more like steam. There's more movement. And that's why we can't see our loved ones when they cross over, because they come out of the thick, heavy, dense vibration of this world and they cross back into their original realm, which is a lighter vibration. The planet is moving into that lighter vibration. So in other words, everything that's on the planet that needs the lower vibrations to survive are kind of being purged. They're being looked at. Everybody's like, oh, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Well, if you understand manifestation, you know that every beautiful, bright manifestation surfaces from the experience of chaos. You can't get to the other side without going through looking at that dark side or making space or clearing things out. And that's what's happening. Everything that's been going on in the background, or all the things that we haven't wanted to look at or acknowledge, they're coming up to be looked at. They're coming up to be purged. It's kind of similar to fungus, actually. I know it's kind of a funny metaphor, but it's also a really good metaphor, because if you think about fungus, it has to have a very particular environment in order to survive. And when you take that environment away, the fungus can no longer survive. And so it's like we've had fungus on the planet to a degree, and because we're shifting in vibration, that fungus is no longer going to be able to survive here. But if you were the fungus, what would you do during that time? Right? What would you do during that time frame? I mean, I would start flipping out. I would start grasping on. I would start trying to create the environment I needed to survive, right? Which in this case is fear and anger. So you can see why some of the bigger structures are trying to force fear on everybody, because we are powerful. We are very, very powerful. What you think about, you create. What you think about, you energize. And so when there's a bunch of fear being fed to you, you're thinking about the fear, you're creating that environment. Back to the point of the virus, the bodies, not only are the lower vibrationals kind of being brought up to be looked at and cleared out, but everything on the planet is shifting in vibration. And that is why everything that won't survive in a higher vibration is coming up to be looked at. But also the bodies, right down to a cellular level, are changing. Everything on the planet is changing its vibration. So the bodies are going through severe upgrades. When I tell you that this has never been done in the history of the galaxy, I'm serious, and I stand behind that statement. This has never been done in the history of all of creation. When I tell you again that there are other living beings in different realms at the edge of their seats watching Earth come through this ascension process, again, I back those words. If you're here and you're alive at this time, I'm here to tell you it's because you are the strong of the strongest. Even if you feel beat up, even if you feel like you just can't go on anymore, I'm telling you, you just being here, your vibration being here is making a difference. Watch where you put your thoughts, and don't let somebody else tell you what you are or what you're capable of. Just being alive, you're successful. That's it. You don't need this, you don't need that. Simply being alive makes you successful. Think about the people in the past and a lot of people currently, their souls are going to expand. They're going to have more opportunities to expand right now in different realms. So a lot of souls are choosing to exit at this point in time. And that's because their soul has better opportunity to expand in different locations. But those that are crossing over now and or have already crossed over, they're not going to be here for the initial shift. Those that come in, basically, my understanding is within the next couple years, those that come into the world will be born directly into a brand new world. So that means if you're here at this time, you are the front line. You are here for the transition. You are here to break the bondage, get rid of the chains, let go of the old belief structures, and bring in a new one. That is our job. We are entering into the gates of a higher vibration, the entire world as a whole. Separation is no longer going to work. And so all the anger that's been created through separation is coming up to be looked at. All the hatred and anger that's been created from lifetime after lifetime, they're being brought up to be looked at right now. And that's why everybody's really going through a difficult time, because not only is everything we believe up in question, but we're all also having to do an immense amount of work to clear this lineage and to clear this past up, because we can't bring the past into the future. It never works. So what I'm getting at is a lot of people are really stuck on this virus as a virus. If they get sick, oh my gosh, I could die from it. Here's what I'm going to tell you. This is just my perspective, and I'm holding space. If you don't feel the same way, it's totally okay. We can still sit at the same table if you're up for it. A lot of people that are crossing from this virus and or anything else, their souls are contracted to cross at this time, no matter how traumatic the crossing. Their souls are contracted to cross at this time. Most of us are aware that we can still feel our loved ones in some way or another, and that their crossing is teaching us how to reconnect with ourselves, because that's how we reconnect with them. So those that are crossing is because their souls have a better opportunity to expand elsewhere, and we have to honor those contracts by feeling the emotions, by letting the emotions cross, by honoring what their choice is, and by becoming the best versions of ourselves that we can be, by implementing a new belief structure so that we can still connect with them, but in a different fashion. if you have this virus and you haven't crossed from it, then I would say this is your body upgrading. You are upgrading. All of us are carrying a certain amount of dense energy. And like I said, sometimes we create these manifestations of illnesses or sicknesses. And this is because it's actually the quickest way for the body to release the energy. If you have severe trauma, you may get sick as shit. And it's not actually because you have a virus or because it's something to fear, but it's actually because the body is releasing it. Now, here's the thing. Like I was saying earlier, if I was the fungus and this was happening and my environment was being stripped, I would want to create whatever I could to try to hold on to my environment, right? All this fear, all this anger. Now, if I knew the bodies were going through an upgrade, it would be pretty brilliant to tell everybody this is a virus. Right? If people knew that their bodies were actually being upgraded because they were shifting into a higher vibrational reality, then we would be in the streets dancing with joy and excitement. And that would just eliminate the fungus's environment even quicker, right? So in order to prohibit that from happening, if I was a dark hat, or what I like to call them the naughties, if I was a naughty, then I would create a plan to try to hold on to my environment for as long as I could before I was going to get kicked off of it, right? And so if I knew everybody's bodies were upgrading, it would make sense for me to say, let's stage it as a virus. That way, when somebody gets sick, not only are they getting sick, but now they're not even allowing the body to upgrade because they're in fear that it's a virus. If you knew it was the body upgrading, you would get sick, but you'd be like, okay, I got this. I can do this. Let me breathe into it. Let me make sure that I'm eating high vibrational foods. I'm pounding handfuls of spinach. I'm drinking all my water. I'm not feeling too good right now because my body's going through this upgrade and I need to support it. But when you're sick, a lot of times, and then you're told that it's a virus of some sort, but if you become ill and you have another perspective, which is, oh, this is a virus and this is deadly and this is, this could kill you, then you end up treating it as a fear. You get sick, you get nervous, you get scared. Everyone around you is talking about how you have this virus. You can't be around other people, which couldn't be worse for you. Don't go out in the sunlight, which doesn't make any sense to begin with. And it's just another way of looking at it, right? So I guess what I'm putting out there is that I'm holding the space for everybody to perceive this however they need to perceive this and whatever works for you. But I'm letting you know that there is another belief structure available. When you get sick, when you understand energy, you begin understanding that you don't just get sick and there's no rhyme and reason to it. If you get sick, it's because there's a blockage somewhere in the body, somewhere in the chakra system, because there's something that needs to be looked at. So it's not like you get sick and there's just no reason. You're getting sick with a higher purpose. Your higher self and your body is trying to get in touch with you and let you know, hey, this is what needs to be looked at right now. So with that in the back of the mind, it's not like, oh, you just get COVID and I guess that's it and I can't believe I caught it. No, if you're going to get sick, there's a reason you're getting sick. You're not just to the fate of the universe and I hope I don't get sick. And that's what understanding energy is all about, which will save all that for another day. I think that's going to be newly emerging science, and I think that our medical systems will be celebrating this type of work in the near future, bridging the gap between science and spirituality and understanding how it really works, how energy works, how our energy field around the body works, how sickness works, and what the message is behind the sickness. I've dealt with clients that have cured cancer simply because we were able to dive into the science and the belief structure. What do you believe about this? Where are you carrying trauma? What was the original start of the trauma? And by going back into it, it's people heal all the time. We have seen miracles happen. And this is touching in on Bruce Lipton's work, Dr. Greg Braden. These are well-respected doctors and scientists that are hey, hold on, there's another way of doing things. If you choose to see it that way, if you choose to acknowledge that there's another way of doing things. And that really comes down to the main question, which is, can you reconnect to your inner intuition? We come down here and we're strategically disconnected from that inner voice. And the question is, can you go against the crowd and say, no, this doesn't work for me. This isn't healthy for me. That's your test. And more of us are starting to finally step up and say, nope, this isn't right. This isn't working. We're on a ball floating in space. Is there an alternative method and an alternative belief structure available so that we could all be living more fruitful lives? And the answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. So I want to share this belief structure to try to ease up your worries about what is happening in the world today. Don't be nervous about getting the virus. All of us in one way or another. I don't even like referring to it as a virus. I don't see it that way. I see it as an upgrade. And I think all of us in one way or another are going to be going through the upgrades. The body is going to have aches and pains, and you may have digestional issues. You may have headaches and cramping. And this is all because the body is being readjusted to a higher vibration. So it doesn't matter how you look at it. Whatever way you look at it, you're going to energize that in your reality. So it's really up to you as to how you're going to look at it. For me, I saw it that way, and my family had COVID, and because obviously I'm a part of my family, I offered up this perspective. They decided to take it as theirs, and they were able to quickly move through it. No problems, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody feels good, and everybody has retained the belief that they've upgraded, right? Now they're working with their bodies in ways that they weren't before, and they're all consciously elevating because they're supporting this as this process is happening, rather than prohibiting it from happening by thinking, oh my gosh, I'm sick, this is a virus and I could die from it. It's like, well, no, I'm being upgraded, right? And it really is incredible how important your thoughts are, especially at this time. Whatever you think, you're going to create that reality. So it's not like I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. Everybody's right depending on whatever they're believing, because you're going to create that experience for yourself. And that's what they didn't want us finding out. But we know that now, right? Like, your thoughts are way more powerful. You have to talk kindly to yourself. Your thoughts are not contained just inside your mind. They're very expansive, and they literally manifest the reality you experience in this life. So I just wanted to put that perspective out there in hopes that it will inspire other people to maybe begin looking at this a little bit differently if you haven't already. We're looking at not quite being at the end of this right this second, and they're really staging this to be catastrophic, when really everybody is being realigned to what their true soul purpose is, and the bodies are being brought back up to a higher vibration, which is what they should have been to begin with. But after years of negative thoughts and disempowering foods, yes, of course, we're going to be having to go through a transition period, and this is it. So buckle up, but get excited, because this is the start of a brand new world emerging, a new way of doing things, a new way of thinking, creating our own realities, taking responsibility for creating our own realities. And I got to tell you, I'm just thrilled and honored to be a part of it. So I hope that this encouraged and uplifted and supports you, and take what resonates, leave what doesn't, as always. But at the end of the day, no matter what you take, check in with yourself about it and make sure that it inspires you, makes you feel good. If it doesn't make you feel good, don't take it. We're on a ball floating in space. If money doesn't make you feel good, then build a new relationship with it. If religion doesn't make you feel good, build a new relationship with it. If the people in your life don't make you feel good, build new relationships with yourself. How do I navigate these? How do I not judge them? How do I learn unconditional love? How can I forgive and move forward? How can I instill healthy boundaries for myself, right? This isn't about anybody else. This is about you. It's never about anybody else. Everybody in your life is reflecting pieces of yourself. The question becomes, can you not judge them when they're treating you poorly? Can you hold the space for them? Can you instill boundaries and say, hey, listen, I don't know what avenue you're getting ready to walk down. I can't go down that avenue because it's not healthy for me. And this is really going to suck not having you around. But I'm going to hold that space. If that's what you need to do right now, then go ahead, go do it. I'll be here when you're ready to come back. That type of energy allows people to move the way that they need to move, to experience the things that they need to experience. You don't know what somebody else's life path is. You don't know what somebody else's karma is. A lot of times we try to rescue people, or we try to get them to do the right thing, not realizing that we're actually prohibiting them from experiencing something that they need to experience. maybe a balancing of karma. You know, I mean, how much would that suck to come all the way down here, go through this whole lifetime, and here you have somebody in your life that was rescuing you the whole entire time, so you actually didn't get to clear half of your karma. You wouldn't be mad, not when you cross back over, but you would be like, shit, damn, Jesus. Okay, I guess I got to go back down and set up some of these situations for myself to encounter once again. So you got to be careful about that whole rescue technique. Sometimes if it doesn't line up and it doesn't feel good, then don't go after it. You don't know what that person has to experience in this lifetime. So I love you guys. I support you guys. Thank you so much for loving and supporting me while we all get through this transition and this shift. Keep a positive perspective. Remember, we're on a ball floating in space. You can believe anything you want. I advise believing something that feels good. Doesn't matter if it's the truth. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. There is no truth. There is no right or wrong. Whatever you believe, you're going to energize and you're going to experience and create. So believe something that empowers you.